Hi, my name is Wong Yihui, and my team and I will be presenting on the case analysis of false assurance. So, for the introduction, Alex Frayne, the former chief as a financial officer of a fictitious company called D. Merton, tells a story of two turbulent years in the life of the company. He explains how D. Merton was brought to its knees by the actions of its executive directors. The lack of vigilance encouraged by its board of directors and failure of the company's auditors to identify and investigate red flag issues. So the roles and responsibility of person A, he is Richard Dalton. He's the chief executive officer. As the CEO of D. Merton, he is responsible for the performance and growth of the company. His primarily focus is on long-term share price growth. So the CEO of D. Merton is responsible to the board of directors, whom has the decision powers to act on behalf of every stakeholders on the organization decisions. Chris Perry, he is the head of IT in D. Merton. As the head of IT, he is responsible for the infrastructure of technical operations, analyzing and eliminating security risks, and maintaining the firm's IT systems. He is responsible to the board of directors in D. Mertons. Next, Sam Keating, she is one of the TYSL audit team junior. As the junior auditor of the team, she is responsible for obtaining and evaluating evidence to perform audit reporting, providing reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatements and prepared according to an accounting framework. She is responsible to audit partners, who is Sarah Hancock.
Hi, I'm Maggie. Today I'll be talking about the responsibilities of the internal and external auditors. So the Audit and Risk Committee in D. Merton is actually responsible for managing the risk faced by D. Merton, the company, and providing governance over the compliance to accounting policies and the effectiveness of internal control processes, also to review the objective and credibility of the financial reports. An example of audit and risk committee of D. Mertens will be when Ellison decides to make the decisions of bringing in external parties who are responsible um, for being the specialist to investigate on the case, such as the bribery payment. The TYSL accountants are actually responsible for ensuring proper audit planning to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial reports are not materially misstated, in which they should be presented fairly in accordance with the reporting framework. An example of TYSL auditors would be when Sam performed her professional judgment by investigating on the payments on Primantel. Not only did she did her own research on Richard's connection to Primantel, such as the sisters and the ex-brother-in-law, she had actually reported the discovery and made it to Sarah and Joe, who subsequently did more investigation and requested for Primantel's reports to be sent over. Moving on to how the delay in the launch of S1D affects the company's finance in the year-end audit process. The delay actually had caused, as Demertel had actually relied on the S1D launch to be the game changer to make a difference between their competitor. As long as S1D is not launched, the share price suffers a hit in the market as the business drops. The delay in the launch of S1D had caused an impact on the company's finance as it failed to meet the expectations of the sales forecast budgeted that Richard is expected to deliver. The year-end audit process will be impacted as the audit team have will not be able to gather sufficient information to perform the year-end reporting without obtaining sufficient evidence on the financial reports and statement.
Hi, my name is Gary, and today I'll be talking about what extent was D. Merton's sales activity in emerging market overseas taken into account by TYSL accountants in regard to a fraud risk assessment focus. The focus of fraud risk assessment was relatively low in this case. The audit should be planned to obtain reasonable assurance that fraud that may be material or has not occur has the effect of the fraud is properly reflected in the financial report, and therefore that the financial report is free from material misstatement due to fraud or errors. As TYSL accountants have been appointed auditors previously for D. Merton, they did not make extensive inquiries of management with respect to fraud, and they did not engage in with any parties of D. Merton sales teams. The familiarity of the operations and environment had also caused the auditors to be complacent. The senior audit manager, Joe Russell, played a big part in this complacency, contributing to a lacking assessment of the risk involved. For example, Joe had downplayed Sam Keating effort in the uncovering of payments being made to Prem Intel, which had in fact been absent during the audit process. This means that there has been a suppression or omission of the effects of transaction from records or documents. And with regards to the sales activities in emerging market overseas, the audit partner relied heavily on the assurance given by the subject matter expert Chris Perry, the head of IT. When D. Merton looked into the sales of system in the emerging market overseas, Patrick had gained assurance from Chris that the product S1B and product S1C system were built around the original technology. Additionally, he did not have any further clarifications as letter of intents were signed with two smaller countries. TYSL accountants have failed to display professional judgment and expertise of an auditor. The team did not adhere to proper accounting procedures and standards, which have failed to perform the duties of their professionalism as an auditor.
Okay, I'm Siti. I'll be talking about question 5, which is whether is it justified for Sarah to bring in industry expert for the valuation. Well, we believe that it is okay and justified for Sarah to bring in the industry expert because D. Merton is a high technology company where it operates in a complex technology industry. So because of its complexity, oftentimes auditors find it difficult to service fully without specific knowledge of the industry that they are auditing. Hence, this is where the expert comes in, and it will allows them to give a better idea on the company, and also having a point of view from the expert will also safeguard against biasness or favoritism. Okay, moving on, we talk about audit plans, which is basically audit plan is necessary to focus on the important areas as well as to identify the problem areas and also to work on efficiency. A well-prepared audit program consists of evidence of proper planning of work, guidance of inexperienced staff, as well as evidence of work performed. Also it should talk about the control on the time spent on to complete the particular auditing, as well as that they have to adhere to internal controls of the organization the auditing.
Hello, I'm Wei Kang. I'm going to present to you the two inherent risk and two control risk for this assignment itself. So firstly, one of the first inherent risk will be the integrity of D. Merton management. It can be observed that the integrity of D. Merton's management is largely questionable. Firstly, the committee's recommendation that TYSL should be reappointed as auditors for the following year's audit was accepted, despite Roger favoring a change. This decision was made based off a biasness against Roger by the committee who supports Sarah, which in this case showcased a lack of professionalism. Secondly, Tom and Richard have also been working together to conceal payments to an official who is likely corrupt by making payments to Premental, which is likely a non-existent entity, which will allow the official to receive this payment in the form of a donation, which in a sense Tom even goes as far as to suggest making smaller payments to Premental in order to reduce attention. Lastly, there was also a collusion between Chris Perry, the head of IT, and Tom. Tom had blackmailed Chris into awarding a contract to a different cybersecurity firm, which is a firm that's different from the usual agent that they normally use, even after all the contracts have been awarded and finalized. This is another ploy of Tom to bribe the corrupt official into selecting their system instead. Again, this cybersecurity firm might be non-existent, and the payments made to this firm itself might, or rather should be made to the official in the form of a bribe in a sense. Yeah, that's it. Secondly, the pressure on demerger management is also an inherent risk of the company. In order to achieve the expectations of the company's performance, the board of directors have placed their focus on the implementation of S1D, with the reliance on the S1D being the game changer for the company. It was the key product to increase the market performance of the company. With a high expectation and increased pressure on the S1D launch, the management were pressured as the results of the sales itself was tied closely to their compensation and earnings. Due to pressure of trying to deliver results, Richard Dalton did not carry out due diligence to oversee and question the questionable decisions made by Tom Noble, which in turn likely would protected his earnings in the long run. The TYSL accountants have gathered appropriate audit evidence which led to the unfold of the unethical and fraudulent activities that Tom Noble had carried out. Next, I'll go on to the control risk. Firstly, there is a problem with the integrity for of the management when it comes to disclosure. In the case, Richard, who is the CEO of Demerton, failed to disclose the interest that he had connection with the supplier, which is Premental. Even though he gave assurance to Patrick, the audit partner, that there were no connections between him and his sister. Also, assuring that the engagement between Demerton and Premental was only after his sister had resigned. However, Richard did not disclose that the one of the current director was his brother-in-law. This was only identified when the junior auditor, Sam Keating, and the audit team had discovered more than the assurance provided. Despite the knowledge and awareness of Premental as a supplier of intel reports, Richard had failed to practice the due care and diligence to declare any potential conflict of interest. However, the audit team investigated and noticed that there were no files on Premental available, which led to the further investigation. Sam Keating investigated and obtained evidence that there were frequent payments made to Premental. The second control risk would be the lack of internal control. The audit committee failed to identify the unethical activities undertaken by Tom Noble and Richard Dalton. It is due to the lack of internal controls implemented that the audit committee did not perform their due diligence to carry out proper monitoring on the accounting standards and procedures in the company. The unethical activities were unfolded when Sam Keating visited suppliers' premises to obtain evidence. Yes. Sarah Hancock and Sam Keating discovered concerns regarding payments and escalated to Alex Frayne, who is the Chief Financial Officer of Demerton. Investigations of payments were being made and had identified 3 bogus suppliers. In conclusion, both the internal and external parties have the responsibility to ensure that the financial reports are in compliance to the accounting framework